Today's video topic is really just a rumination, a ramble, if you will. Essentially, I'm just trying to work through an idea, or a notion, or a wondering maybe, a musing even. Yes, I meant to do that. Don't doubt. It may have something to do with personality or maybe being happy, which is what a lot of rumination is all about. There are a lot of facets in our tabletop hobby, which means there are a lot of things to excel at. Just like in life, everything's a fractal, the seed of the whole contained in every part. That's also the structure of a hologram, right? And our universe might be a hologram. Well, anyway, for a good 2/3 of my life, I firmly believed that one of the coolest phrases or labels was jack of all trades, conveniently disregarding the flip side of that particular coin, master of none. Greetings, good humans, and welcome to Tabletop Alchemy, where sometimes we try to figure ourselves out by examining the tabletop hobby as an example. And we thank our patrons for their fearless support of such random endeavors. Muchas gracias. When I was a kid, dreading bedtime because I wanted to keep reading whatever book I was reading, I was always super jealous of kids in the movies who had awesome bedrooms designed by art directors and read their books with flashlights under the blankets, because I'd just get caught. At some point, I encountered the term jack of all trades, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. A couple of my heroes back then were Han Solo.
Yes, I bet you have.
Duh. And John Bender. Also duh. And I've always had this jack of all trades thing in the back of my mind as something really cool to be. It really, I understand now, sort of became a subconscious thing that resonated with my penchant for liking or being interested in a lot of different things. Now, in our various niches in the tabletop hobby, there are so many things to do, to get good at, to master. Game mastering, for instance, or writing, or miniature painting, or terrain building, strategy, storytelling, map making, illustration, publishing, design, music, special effects, photography even. I mean, the list just kind of keeps going on, and with the democratization of technologies, there's no end in sight. There's 3D sculpting and printing, dice manufacturing, woodworking, playing card design, game design. There's just a ton of stuff, and that's just one niche. If you're like me, which is not recommended, you really dig the top tier artists and producers out there. You not only appreciate and marvel at their stunning craftsmanship and talent, but you harbor a desire in your black heart to produce something of a similar quality. But you also come to realize, whether through age or experience or both, the tremendous amount of skill and focus required to achieve such levels of artistic success. And I don't mean a financial success. That's a whole different ball of wax. I just mean successfully creating masterful works of art that people enjoy. And being a jack of all trades is kind of not just an impediment, but almost antithetical to this kind of achievement. Now, I'm not saying Angel Giraldez isn't good at anything except painting miniatures, or Joe McCullough isn't only great at writing games, or Matt Mercer is only good at DMing and voice acting. Not at all. What I'm saying is that it's a somewhat safe assumption. Is there such a thing as a safe assumption? Probably not. I think it's a somewhat safe assumption that these folks have sunk a disproportionate number of hours into that thing that they've mastered. But jacks of all trades are masters of none. As much as I've wanted to be a Sergio Calvo of miniature painting, or a Brennan Lee Miller of DMing, or a Coen brother of directing, or a Chivo Lubeski of cinematography, or a William Gibson of writing, I'm highly unlikely to become a master of anything. And that's okay, despite the periodic bouts of frustration and empty wishful thinking. This is mostly because of two factors: my inherent laziness and my unwillingness to focus on one thing for an exorbitant amount of time. This doesn't mean I couldn't put in those 10,000 hours of practice on a single endeavor. I certainly could. I just make a decision, either consciously or unconsciously, every day, not to. Every time I think about it, I'm like, well, yeah, I could go do that for 10 hours today, but then I couldn't do this stuff over here, or that stuff over there, or at least I'd have to put that stuff off for a few years. And yet, I still wish I could paint, or write, or build a masterpiece. There are certainly advantages to the jack-of-all-trades skill set. If we were to look at life through the lens of an RPG, for example, it's hard to argue that having a wide array of lower-scored skills on the character sheet is a waste of XP. But it's equally hard to ignore the meteoric rise potential of having a super high ability score in a particular skill or two. I think what I've come to realize about life is that, wait for these awesome words of wisdom, savor the moment. Here they come. The grass is always greener. Over there. It always is. That's our perception anyway. Do I wish from time to time that I had otaku-level focus on just one thing, one discipline, one creative outlet I could turn into mountains of high praise, commercial success, and adoration from legions of fans and critics? Absolutely. From time to time. But I also enjoy being interested in lots of things, even though I know that sort of keeps me in the realm of master of nothing. Lately, however, I've been discovering I can do some things I always actively believed I could never or would never be able to do. That's another interesting side effect of the jack of all trades thing, but also just the everyday you never know until you try thing. In fact, I want to point out something about the word belief. If you classify a thought as a belief, by the very nature of the word, you're installing some rigid psychic limits in your mind that are easy to forget are simply self-constructed. I try to be very conscious of when or how I use the word belief, because classifying something as a belief makes it difficult to change, even though, by its very nature, it means something that isn't necessarily provable, and therefore possibly incorrect, or maybe just not infallible. So it makes changing one's mind more difficult in some ways. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. Typically, you got to try something a few times to really see if you can get the hang of it. I mean, essentially you can learn to do anything given enough time and enough practice. Of course, liking something or some activity in and of itself goes a long way towards helping one weather that initial storm of, I want to do this, but I suck at it feeling. I've been doing a lot of air quotes lately, and it's starting to bother me. I apologize. So as a personal anecdote, a personal example, I remember to this day being at my school desk in first grade. My teacher was Sister Adrian, and in the month of October, she handed all of us first graders big sheets of colored craft paper. The assignment was, draw a picture for Halloween. I loved Halloween, just like you do. And I remember looking at that paper and knowing the image I wanted to draw. A creepy haunted house with a giant moon behind it, with like broken windows and curtains streaming in the breeze and crooked shingles and a twisted wrought iron gate. And I got out my crayons and I started to draw. And I quickly realized that I didn't know how to translate the idea in my thought cage to that piece of paper. So my drawing was a stupid first grader stick figure version of a house. I thoroughly hated it. Really, what I hated was my own lack of ability. At the end of the day, Sister Adrian showed off everyone's pictures one at a time, holding them up so we could all see them. And some of them were super cool to my 6-year-old eye, and I was just filled with frustration. From that point on, I got it in my head that I simply could not do art. Some 4.5 decades later, sitting around one day, I drew a cactus in my notebook. I don't know why. It seemed like an easy thing to sketch out, I guess, and that little cactus kind of shocked me. So I drew another one, and another. Now, I still don't know anything about how to draw, but look at what I've been doing doodling-wise. Yeah, a lot of books and plants and pots. And recently I started drawing random weird medieval weapons. I'm not thinking about anything in particular, least of all realism. I'm just doodling, because it's a great little stress reliever, and I like the way these pens I found feel on this particular paper I've got. And every time, I'm a little bit amazed that I drew something readable, like that you can tell what it is. I don't know thing one about illustration, and even though I've always kind of wanted to be an illustrator, or more accurately, be able to paint or draw a picture that doesn't look like a first grader did it, I know I don't have the 10,000 hours to put into just this one thing in order to, get good. I got too many other interests and distractions. So, jack of all trades it is for me. I have no idea what this topic might mean for you, but I just wanted to chat about it. Just like there are so many facets to our hobby, there are many facets to life. If you want to be a master of one, or some, you're going to get focused. You're going to put in the mileage. You're going to get good. Or if you're happy doing all the things, do them all. So let me know what you think about all this. I mean, besides the whole, get on with the hobby stuff, man. More of that coming soon. See ya.